How did I end up here? How did it come down to this? A kind-hearted, beautiful, and bright 10-year-old boy, eyes drowning in tears. A thick blanket wrapped around his tender neck as his frail little body begins hanging from a closet bar. Nobody has a clue of what's going on in here, but I'm attempting to remove myself from this unforgiving world. Remove myself from this painful thing called life. The moisture inside the closet is quickly escaping as the temperature rapidly rises. The airflow to my brain shortening by each second that passes, as my eyes begin to slowly drift away. Suffering will finally be over soon. Suicide prevention and mental health awareness, the after effects of foster care abuse. 7 years earlier, in the middle of a daycare center about 5 or 6 minutes away from where I resided, Child Protective Services began rounding my siblings and I up as they were readying to ship us off to different locations to house us in. We had no idea what was going on, nor why it was happening. But this was only the beginning of what was to come. My older brother was the first of the 3 to be taken. My little sister and I, holding on to each other in a deep fear, hearts pounding and minds racing like a Daytona 500 event. Not too long after, a group of strangers appeared, separating the 2 of us from one another. With tears flowing from my eyes, all I could remember is her and I wailing for help, reaching out for one another, and begging them not to separate us. And that's where my memory of this traumatic moment fades. The home I was placed in appeared to be a nice place. There were 2 older biracial girls, and they had a pet dog who looked pretty friendly. The mother of the foster home was a Caucasian woman. She looked to be in her mid to late 30s and was a stay-at-home mom. The father was a tall, dark-skinned man with a strong build and was a police officer. They seemed like a loving family. You know, the type you'd see in a Disney movie. I remember them always laughing and smiling. The girls, they were very chatty and vibrant. The older of the 2 was a fanatic of romantic movies and used to want to practice kissing scenes with me. Now, I was too young to know what was going on, but she would press her lips against mine and have us roll on and off the bed in dramatic fashion. Not sure if she ever made it to Hollywood, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't remember if her mom and dad ever caught her in the act of making out with me or if her door was shut at the time of those many performances. But I do remember her mother's violent temper all too well. Some mornings in the foster home were kind of pleasant. I remember sitting up in a high chair, excited about eating some delicious pancakes full of syrup. My favorite moments during that time. Those mornings usually ended up being the days I was able to see my father. We would meet in a room designated for visitations. It felt similar to those scenes you'd see in a prison movie where visitors would meet with prisoners. Those meetings never lasted long enough, but he always promised he would get me and my siblings out of that situation. Some days, well, let's just say Those days were very different than others. I still find it difficult reminiscing on those times, a lot of which were repressed and locked inside the deepest, darkest crevices of my mind. When the father of the foster home went off to work, the mother clocked in her shifts of the worst type of physical and mental abuse any child should have to ever be subjected to. That pet dog the family had, well, it had a kennel and it was kept on the second floor of the home. Some days she would place me in the kennel, turn off the lights, command me to stay quiet and to stay put in that small cage. Hours would pass before she would allow me to come back downstairs. It was so uncomfortable sitting in that cage and hard not to use the bathroom on myself. One day, I don't remember what I had ate. I just remember my stomach just wasn't able to keep from rumbling. There was a bathroom just around the corner from the spot the kennel laid. So that I wouldn't defecate on myself, I snuck out of the cage and went to go use the bathroom. I wasn't quite through, but my stomach didn't hurt as bad, and I finished up quickly just to get back into the kennel in hopes that she didn't catch me outside of it. Maybe it was the little footstep sounds heard creeping along the upstairs floor. Perhaps the sound of the toilet flushing was the culprit. Or it could have just been a huge coincidence. Either way, it shouldn't have caused the events that would take place next. The woman came upstairs with rage in her spirit. You could see the devil dancing in her eyes. She furiously asked me why I had left out of the cage without her permission. Deeply frightened, I tried explaining to her that I needed to use the bathroom badly and I just could no longer hold it in. Unsympathetic about the reasoning, she snatched me from the small prison and gave me the worst beating of my life. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but she literally beat the shit out of me. My pants reeked of feces as I endured the inhumane torture, and this seemed to anger her even more. Not feeling as if she had punished me enough, her sick imagination shifted to another way of brutalizing me. Have you ever felt the pain of a bar of wood being slammed into your elbows until they bled to the white meat? Well, I have. Courtesy of that demented woman's disdain for a child who was entrusted to her through the foster care system. Not too long before I was released back into my parents' care, she even gifted me with a broken leg. A visitation with my father was even canceled because of this. I'm not sure what excuse she gave or how she managed to do these things with a cop as her husband, but I thank God I was able to survive that trauma without losing my life. My father was able to secure a home for my sister's godmother. That was one of the stipulations that had to be fulfilled in order for him to be able to regain custody of the three of us. Due to an unforgettable night that I'm not ready to discuss at this point in time, We found ourselves on a run with our mother, moving from shelter to shelter. Not even 2 whole years passed, and I found myself displaced from home again. Eventually, she found a home in the Brightmoor neighborhood of Detroit, the city I was born and raised in. Shortly afterwards, we began attending a small elementary school several blocks from where we stayed. I have a lot of fond memories of those days, but even more painful ones. I dealt with all types of bullying. We were the poor kids with the quote-unquote crazy mother. She had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. She routinely had episodes that we didn't quite understand. I felt embarrassment and shame as a result of those incidents. For instance, one Christmas we had received all types of gifts from her, our school teachers, and different programs from around the city that were catered towards impoverished families. We were so excited that morning. And a few days later, for whatever reason, my mother decided to call the Salvation Army to come and collect everything for donation. We were devastated. Imagine that. The poorest family in the neighborhood donating what little they had to the Salvation Army. Not too long afterwards, after all the beatings from the neighborhood bullies, all the fights my brother and I would get into, which most of the time, he was the one that ended up winning. Pleadings with God that just changed my circumstances. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I couldn't deal with the pain anymore. Physical, psychological, and emotion beatings were just too much for me to bear any longer. I had a plan that would quickly put an end to all of it. The more I thought of it, the more convinced I was it was the right course of action. One day, while everyone was busy, I went to my room and shut the door. I made room in the closet by removing the clothes off the bar. Tied that cover around my neck as tight as I could. Tied it around the bar and let go. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I've survived that incident. I rarely ever talk about this situation with others. I've mentioned it a few times in the past, but it's kind of like a book in the title of the book. You can give someone the title of a book, but you have to actually read the book to understand the contents, to understand what the title represented. So me telling people that I've actually attempted to commit suicide, it's not actually the same as explaining everything that went behind it. I'm thankful that it never went through. I've never been able to meet my beautiful baby girl. And I'm gonna make sure that she never has to endure anything that I went through as a child. If you or someone you know is in a crisis, there's resources out there. Help is available. Contact the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline if you are experiencing mental health related distress or are worried about a loved one who may need crisis support. Call or text the number 988 Connect with a trained crisis counselor. 988 is a confidential, free, and available 24/7, 365. Visit the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline for more information at 988lifeline.org. A link to these resources will be available in the description box below. Life is too precious. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. You never know what someone is going through, and if an interaction with you may be their last one. Please remember to like and share this video so that it may be able to reach and help those who need it most. Subscribe to my channel for future content. Hit the notification button so you don't miss any upcoming videos. In the meanwhile, check out this video on mental health awareness and how to cope with stress. Or check out the playlist to see what else this channel has to offer. I'm Khalil Gerard. It's been my pleasure sharing parts of my story with you. If you have any stories to share, please feel free to place them down in the comments, and I'll be sure to check them out. Peace and love to you all. Until next time, be safe.